in, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is Coast to Coast. How's it going, Pags?
Good morning. It's good to see you, and it's good to be back home.
Yeah, no doubt. You've definitely had quite a bit of travel.
Yes, a lot of travel. It has been a whirlwind month of June. June was an absolutely amazing month to me, starting from the very beginning all the way to the very end. Uh, I have to put together the compilation of this month because it's probably been my one of my busiest months ever in the summer. And it's been a lot of fun, but it's been also very exhausting. I was so glad to sleep in my own bed last night.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it doesn't matter how fun the trip is. There's nothing like climbing in your own bed at the end of it.
Exactly, exactly, and especially because it liked to end with a bang. You know, as I tried to get home here, I wanted to get home before July, but it said nope. We're going to wait till July. You're going to finish this month on the road.
That's right.
As I
So,
got stuck in Chicago.
so what happened in Chicago that got you stuck there?
So, all right, the flight was supposed to go from Las Vegas to Philadelphia direct.
Okay.
They were having weather, and the problem was is that they were afraid that we would have to fly around Philadelphia for a minute before we could land, and that we would not have enough gas to do that. So they wanted to refuel in Chicago so that if we were stuck in the air for an extra hour or 2 hours,
Mm.
that we ain't going to crash.
I
You
mean,
know,
fair enough.
I get it. Listen, this is the first time. I mean, I do a lot of travel, and this is the first time anything like this has ever happened. Where it's like, hey, like I remember getting the message saying, all right, you're late, which was fine. I was supposed to leave at 8:30. I'm leaving at 10:30, so I got to sleep for a couple of extra hours after. I didn't really sleep though because I went and did a podcast. I did the morning show, and then but I also was like, all right, I get there and it gets late again. And then they said, okay, we're going to get everybody on here. We're going to Chicago. We're just changing the destination. And then they're like, we're just going there to get some gas and keep on going. Like, so it's literally, we're not even going to the
Splash
thing.
and go.
We're going to hit the gas station like on the way. So I was like, all right, cool. And then they bring us into the airport or
Oh,
into
they had you get off the plane.
well, we weren't supposed to, and then it was like, yeah, things are a little bit changing right now. We're going to make this decision and give everybody a chance to get off the plane rather than keep you on the plane for an hour and a half.
Hey,
Okay,
I mean, I'm not
I'm all
mad at
right with
that.
that.
Go
I'm all
get a
right with
beer.
that. That's exactly what I did. I went and got a beer, got myself a shot of Terramanu,
Yep.
or Terramana, and it was like, all right, this is what's going back on. And then we go back onto the plane, and they put us out on the runway, and then they put us on a stop for 45 minutes. So we're now sitting on the tarmac for 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And like, again, it was one of those things where I had just took an edible when we got back on the plane again. I'm like, I'm
Okay.
gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna have a good time on this flight no matter what. And by the time we got back and they pull us back into the dock again to get us to deplane us again, I was like, okay, well, that just killed my edible. You know what I mean? It just
Oh, so
now
you
I'm
guys got out on the tarmac and then they circled you back in?
circled us back in
Ah,
again.
that's terrible.
And then they're like, you know what? We have a ground stop in Philly. So what
Mm,
happened in Philadelphia was that planes weren't taking off.
sure.
So there were planes that had landed in Philadelphia and then were stuck on the tarmac for 4 hours because they didn't have a gate.
Wow.
So
Brutal.
that became a monster issue there, and the backlog really held up.
I mean, at
So,
least you were still in Chicago and not on the tarmac in Philly.
well, yes, that's I would have probably hated that, but I would have rather been in Vegas.
Well,
Just
of
not
course. Yeah,
take the plane to like from Vegas to Chicago.
sure.
And had I known that, listen, maybe they could have used 300 more pounds of fuel, I would have taken my fat ass and my bag that weighs 50 pounds off of the flight. And
Yeah.
there you got an extra 300 pounds of fuel. Everybody else could have gotten back. You could have moved me to later and, given me the $1,000 that they were trying to do to bump people. But that was there and then it disappeared. So I was like,
Mm.
I was ready to get bumped. And There was no bump.
Oh, if it's ever offered, generally I'm like, yeah, go ahead and bump me. Cause I mean, worst case, you're going to get some free tickets, which at
Well,
this point are expensive anyway.
that is correct. So I was hoping because I usually thought that when they're asking for 1,000, typically they go up to 1,500, 2,000. So I was ready to kind of do that, but I didn't want to agree to 1,000 and then kind of, take my money out of my pocket. So that being said, so in Chicago now, okay, now we're in Chicago. They're giving us a room. They're giving
Sure.
us taxi fare to get back and forth from the room. We got to be back at 6 o'clock in the morning because or they want us back at 4:30 in the morning because it takes off at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah.
So I see they canceled. They canceled a flight to Dublin. They canceled two flights to Philadelphia. So
Mhm.
like now everybody's a mess.
Sure.
So I'm like, there ain't no chance that I'm going. It's like almost midnight now. There's no chance I'm going to go to the hotel and try to get a cab on the way back. I've never been in Chicago like this, so I don't know anything about Chicago. I don't know where I'd be going. I'm just going to stay in the friggin' airport. And 3:30 comes along. All right, now we're bumping the flight again. Now it's not going to be leaving till 10:30
You're like, I
or
messed up.
9:30, and it's going here. And I'm like, oh, now I really wish I would have taken that room. And
See, for me, I would have had to because I would have needed a shower. Like I don't know what it is about a travel day, but I feel gross as soon as I get off an airplane. Even
I
taking
hear
a
you,
shower as
but
soon as I get on it.
are you going to shower and put on the same underwear?
Well, you have your oh no, I guess you don't have your bag, huh?
I don't have my bag because that's the big deal. The bag has got to stay in the plane so that everybody can go. And then also, the moment that you leave the airport, you have to reticket again because now it says from Las Vegas to Philly, you're in the wrong airport. You got to go and see
Mm,
American, and then you got to get a flight changed from Chicago to Philly.
fair enough.
So it's so it was going to be a hassle, and I was preferring not to deal with the hassle at
No, that's fair.
4:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
Then the call comes. It's 9:30, and it's over at this gate over here. And then it's going to be at 10, and it's going to be at this gate over here. And then it's going to be at 10:30, and it's at this gate over here. That was right next to the original gate that I was at the first time. So now that I've got to get a full tour of Chicago O'Hare Airport, and it was freezing, and I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt,
yeah,
it was okay. You know what I mean?
yeah. And
I made the best of it.
I always have a spare like outfit in my carry on,
So my carry
just
on,
because I assume the flight is going to lose all my stuff.
yeah, I hear that, but I am only carrying my backpack. You know what
Yep.
I mean? It was only my backpack and everything else was in it because I just don't want to carry around a ton of shit. You know what
Yeah.
I
No,
mean? So
I always just have like shorts, t-shirt, and some underwear in the bottom of my backpack.
yeah, I may start to do that. I have to get a different backpack. I think
I
this backpack is a great backpack if I was like, doing light travel, like what I normally do, and I'm carrying a second bag, a second carry-on, because I always usually carry two carry-ons with me, but there was no need because everything fit in the suitcase because I'm not carrying shoulder pads. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, that
So
makes sense. That makes sense. But it goes with that theory of when you pack, you have, you know, a pair of jeans and a couple pairs of shorts, but enough underwear to like shit your pants constantly. So
yes.
I
Oh, I had plenty of underwear,
well, so
all
and
in the bag, nice and
I
clean.
employ that same thought with my backpack is it's like, okay, I'm gonna have a change of clothes because I don't trust the fact that my stuff will arrive in the same location I'm going.
Yeah, I hear that. Never have had that problem. I've not had a problem where my bag was somewhere else.
I
So
I've had it arrive late once. So it didn't go to the wrong place, but like it got loaded onto the wrong plane or something. It ended up showing up like 2 hours later. That was coming back from LAX. Usually, most of my problem is actually LAX.
you're giving me fodder to make sure that I don't go to LAX.
Well,
Uh,
all that means is just fly into like Burbank or something like that instead.
yeah, well, you got to know. I don't know all the different airlines that fly into everywhere. So it's that being said, it is what it was. I mean, it was funny because by the second day, people then realized who I was.
Oh,
Because I
sure.
I mean, they had no clue. They're like, "Could that be him? I don't know." And then everybody knew. So it was like, So the second day, after being a little cranky and everything, it was like, oh, now I got to put my face on for a minute, and it did make it a little bit easier. And like I said, it was a challenging day, but I
I
was just
mean,
glad to be
it,
home.
it would be way better, once people started to, because then you just kind of get into game mode, right? You're just like, okay, let me do what I do and get your head out of why am I stuck in this airport still? Anything that can kind of turn it into a game is better.
Right. And that's kind of what it became. And really, to be honest, the second flight, that flight out of Chicago, was half full at this point now because other people chose other means. Some people drove home, like ultimately, I know we got back before some of the people that started to drive because some of the people started to drive late.
Mm.
They're like, yeah, all right, this is what it is. So I wound up having the whole row to myself, which was so much better than trying to sleep at the airport because every chair at the airport has got armrests. There's
Oh
no two chairs without an armrest. So
yeah.
you're stuck. Like, and if you could fit underneath the armrest, like some people were, that's great. I mean, you ain't perning, but you can be under the armrest. I
You
couldn't
got to
fit
be
under the
tiny
armrest.
because those gaps are only like this big.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. So, and it's like you could try to get on the edge of the chair, but at that point, you move a wrong way and you're falling off. And I'm just not a floor sleeper. I'm not going to sleep on the floor.
Certainly not in an airport.
Yeah. So, uh,
Because if
it
you weren't
was what
going
it
to get
was.
sick because of the airplane, you were going to after that.
Exactly. So all I need is to sit on the floor. You wind up getting pink eye,
Yeah, for
just for
real.
being on the floor. So yeah, I was not interested, and like I said, I slept maybe a whole 2 hours that night. It was what it was.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know. Even when the airport is smooth, it's still a hassle. Like
yeah,
there's no time. Like I remember flying as a kid, where like everyone that was taking you there would like walk down the gate with you, and now it's everything is such a pain in the ass through the airport that by the time you get where you're going, like I used to want to do stuff after a travel day, and now I'm just like, yeah, if I could just grab some food and go take a shower, like I'm good.
Well, they did give us like $24. They gave us two $12 vouchers for food.
Yep.
So it was like and of course it's like 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night now. So there's not much open. So we found a Dunkin' Donuts that was open. I'm like, yeah, give me 3 donuts, give me a breakfast sandwich, give me a couple of waters and a bagel for tomorrow morning. And oh, that'll be $24. Here's $12, and I'm gonna pay the other 12. And then the McDonald's in the morning, and they're like, oh, well, you can only do this and cash. I'm like, well, I don't have cash. I have a card. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, that's tough. Thanks. Appreciate it. So,
Yeah. No, I mean it happens. Like I've had it happen here in Seattle. Just trying to leave, our flight was delayed so long that we got vouchers and stuff to go get food, and basically we just went to well, it used to be Anthony's. Um, it's now changed out, but we got a burger and some drinks and whatever. And of course, the vouchers don't work for alcohol, so you're paying for that on your own. But
right.
paid for our food, and it's like, all right. I mean, we're already here. It's not like we're gonna go home or anything. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a matter of trying to stay positive. So it's like I was doing my best, but also when they were making announcements, it's like, oh, we're gonna be taking off at 6:30, and I'm like, 6:30, it's 5 o'clock now. We're gonna be on this plane for an hour and a half, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we got our times wrong. The pilot kept blaming his wife. And then so it's like, yeah, we're gonna be leaving at 5:30. And then he goes, my wife screwed it up again. Really, it is 6:30 this time here. And I'm like, and then he said something else about his wife, and I'm like, I don't know if I trust your wife anymore.
right.
So and then that got a big laugh out of the plane, you know what I mean? Because everybody's dealing with the same thing. It's just a matter of trying to be funny about it. Like you gotta laugh because there's no sense in getting angry.
Well, there's
Like
it
there's
won't help.
nothing they can do.
Yeah. No, I mean it doesn't help the situation. That's why when people lose their mind over stupid stuff just in life, I'm like, I don't really know why you're mad about it. I mean, frustrating, sure, but getting mad about it's like, how does that help the situation? Because whether you're mad about it or you're just trying to figure your way through it, the situation is what it is. So, I mean, you can either stress out about it and have a heart attack, I guess, or you just keep it pushing. I mean, I don't get when I was much younger, I'd get mad about it. And then as I got smarter, I'm just like, well, that's a waste of energy. Like,
That's exactly. Yeah. I was older then. I'm younger than that now. You know what I mean? That's exactly. I will tell you something that I am angry about, and we might as well talk a little bit of sports.
of
The
course.
Sixers signed Paul George. And I tell
Yes.
you, I think that that is the absolute worst signing that they could have done. Yeah, first off, why pay somebody who has got as many rings as I do, and he's close to my age,
Yep.
and $212 million, so that when he's 50 years old, just about, I mean, he's not going to be 38 years old,
Yep.
and he's still probably hasn't won a championship because he doesn't know how to win a championship because he keeps getting to the playoffs and failing, just like every other person that we've had on this team. The
Yep.
fact that you paid him this money is ridiculous to me. It is
I mean, it
ridiculous.
shows that you guys don't want to win like
Huh?
that. It shows you guys don't want to win. That's all that's all it showed to me. It was just like, okay, let me go get a guy that will help get fans in the stands. You'll compete for the in season tournament, and then end the season early.
Well, we'll make it to the playoffs and
No,
get
that's
bumped
what I mean.
again in the first or second round.
No,
That's
that's what I'm
that's what
saying.
I see. Because again, we got somebody, and I understand that there wasn't a lot of talent on this, but that doesn't mean you got to go spend the money. You don't have to. What do you
Yeah.
think? We're going to try to trade him now? He's not going to be worth anything on the trade market. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? He has a bad season or a mediocre season. Nobody wants that contract. So you're
No.
stuck with this guy now.
Well, and
And
does he stay healthy? Right, because he is 90 years old in basketball years.
exactly. You know what I mean? It's just, I think that this was the absolute worst signing that they could have done. I mean, again, I know that there's not a lot of talent that's out there, but that didn't mean that we had to spend the money. We could have sat and we could have waited on this. We could have
Mhm.
made sure that we got somebody that we really wanted. Now, I understand that Morey is like, yeah, well, we really wanted him. We didn't really want him. We didn't really want him. We really wanted Jimmy Butler.
Sure.
So that's who we really wanted. We couldn't get Jimmy Butler. So this is the next best thing. I don't think it's the next best thing. I think it's crap. And I think that, ultimately we're going to find that after these 4 years, we're going to blow it up. Everything's going to get blown up and we're going to have zero to show for it. Zero.
Yep.
And I feel like the decisions that are being made by the Harris group are all financially motivated and they do not care about winning. They do not care about this. And you could see that that's kind of what they do. Same thing with the Devils. It's going to be the same thing with Washington, the Commanders and stuff like that. And whatever team they have, all they're trying to do is make money. That's what they care about. They do
I
not
mean,
care about championships.
that's exactly what this move is fans in the stands. They have a star player that gets notoriety. People will come to see him play, but you're not winning.
So,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly, Rob.
Yes.
That is exactly what it
I
is.
And I tell you, it's not something that I'm excited about. Like I am very frustrated when they told me this at the airport, and
Mhm.
I said, "You have to excuse me here." I says because I'm a little cranky because I didn't sleep much, but I think this is a bad decision. I think that this is going to lead to a blowing up of everybody, and at that point, it's Embiid's going to be too old. We're not going to be able to get rid of him for anything. He's going to
Yep.
wind up just leaving in free agency, and we're going to wind up having no championships attached to this. And then what'll happen is Embiid will go to a team who's right on the brink of winning a championship, and he's going to play the Kevin Durant. That's what he's going to do. He's going to wind up playing Kevin Durant. He's going to win a championship somewhere else as the fifth guy on that team. You know
Sure.
what I mean? And ultimately, that's how we're going to see Embiid get his ring. But it ain't going to be in Philly. And I hope they prove me wrong. I swear I hope they prove me wrong. But I don't think so. I think I'm usually in tune with stuff like this.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not the basketball guru, and I know that Paul George is a good player,
He
but
is.
that's it. He's just a good player. He's not a great player. And if you're going to spend $200 million on somebody, you want somebody who has at least gotten over the hump, has gotten the ring.
Yep.
I like that they got Andre Drummond back. I think that he was a fan favorite here. He is somebody they got to figure out. Maybe if they could figure out a way to keep both Embiid and Drummond on the floor at the same time, that may actually work. That would be the way. If you could have Embiid, Drummond, Maxey, Paul George, and I guess Kelly Oubre or whatever, some other person who can shoot the ball over there, and actually have a presence underneath the basket and get some of these rebounds that we lost. We lost a rebound game to the Knicks in a big way, and that was part of the reason why we did not win any critical playoff games.
Yep.
But that's what's happening here. That I feel like that's the only way that this is going to work. Other than that,
Yeah, and that's actually what we're talking about, Brad, is Paul George. So you're higher on it than we are. That
there's a lot of people that's high on this. I'm finding things on Instagram saying, "Is this the best top three? Maxey, Paul George, and Embiid?" No, it is not the best top three. I mean, are you kidding me? Listen. I would even put that. I don't even know who the number 3 guy would be in for the Lakers, but I would still say that if you put LeBron, what's it, AD,
yeah,
yeah, and somebody else, that
and
they
Bronny.
would be.
It's going to be Bronny.
Yeah, I don't know about Bronny, but I mean, it's like think about Minnesota and their 3. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like there's no Denver and their 3. No way the Phillies or Sixers. Wow. That was like going through all the names of the kids: Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, Phillies.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
All of you, you're all in trouble.
when you get angry, that's what happens. You start running through the names
That's
until you
right.
get to the right one. You need so, and that's what I feel. I feel like this was just such a bad move in general. Like, why didn't the Clippers want to re-sign him again? You know what I mean? Why? It's because he was actually one of the better players on that team. He was one of the most consistent players on that team. He was one of the most healthy players on that team.
Yes.
Why didn't they want to re-sign him? Bothers me. That bothers me. I
I mean, who
6 years
knows?
ago, maybe.
He
6 years
turns the
ago,
corner.
maybe.
Maybe he turns the corner. This is his year.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
I won't hold my breath.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not holding it. So
Uh,
instead of being angry about the flights, I got angry about that. And the guy was like, "Wow, man." He says, like, "I don't normally hear that type of stuff from you. You're Mr. Positive and I'm Mr. Negative and pessimistic." He's like, "You obviously have thought about this. Like it's and I have thought about this. I said I didn't want Paul George here. I said he was too old. If you could get Paul George here for 2 years, maybe spend the $100 million.
sure.
Give him 125 million. Give him more than he's worth right now. $60 million a year for 2 years. I'm okay with that then.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, I get it. I mean, we Mariners, for example, are the king of overspending when they do randomly spend money on somebody that's in the twilight of their career. And it's just like, okay, well, that was just a waste of money. Like, you threw money at something because you're tired of hearing that you're cheap. And then you just threw it in a way that you might as well have just lit it on fire and called it a day.
right.
So yeah, I get it. I get it. We've seen this movie a couple of times here in the Northwest.
Yeah, Monty G, I am all over the place right now. I get to be home for a couple of weeks. So shout out to Monty G over here. Monty G is always all over the place. He's all over Philadelphia, with the
Nice.
sports scene. So at carting around. So I'm glad to still see that he's above the grass. Every day is a blessed day for you, Monty.
And this this would be rough when they actually shut the plane down and you're on the tarmac and it's hot outside.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So they shut our plane down, but they had the CCV going.
Oh, okay.
So that it was like enough battery power to be able to run the air conditioner, which was important. It was comfortable on the plane, so it wasn't the worst.
That is
Yeah.
important because I have been stuck in Vegas sitting on the plane and it was about it was like 114 degrees. And even when the plane was on, it was hot in that airplane. And, when they shut it down for a half hour, like it got toasty.
Yeah, it does, and it's like sitting in a car with the windows closed.
Exactly.
You know, it's
Exactly.
like that's a big metal thing that is going to generate heat.
Yep.
So yeah, it's so thank God that we were at least comfortable in that regards. It's been yeah, but it's yeah, and like I said, out of all the times that I do traveling, it's not. This was actually n- this is the first time that I've actually been rerouted somewhere, and this type of flights, and you can't help weather. I
No.
heard that the
Yeah.
rain that was coming through was pretty ugly. That there were like shore beach places that wound up getting like 3 foot of water,
Oh wow.
because of the tides and the rain and stuff like that. So,
That's crazy.
uh, Robert, if we want to talk about that, I could absolutely talk about that. I think that that's going to require a lot more time than the 4 minutes we have before the break. So
For
we'll
sure.
maybe hit that after the break, because ultimately, I mean, I love Roger Goodell. Everybody boos him, and he likes the booze and stuff like that. He is the man, and he knows how to run an organization as large as the NFL.
Yeah.
And he put it right to them. He's like, "All right, everybody, pay up.
Yep.
Everybody, pay up. You're stuck. Tough. We got to pay this out. You guys made tons of money. Time to pay up. We got to go pay it back." And everybody pays.
Yep.
And you know what? That's what the commissioner's got to do. So I applaud Roger Goodell. That being said, this is going to change a few things. I think these contracts are going to be very weirdly placed right now when it comes to signing these television contracts. And how do you think who do you think is going to pay for it? It's all going to come back down to us because everybody's going to
Of
make you pay for
course.
these services.
Of course.
So
Yeah, I mean, and it's already annoying because at this point it's on so many different services now, right? There's still some on broadcast TV. There's going to be a couple more on Peacock this year. You have what the two on Christmas that are going to be Netflix. We got the ones on Amazon. I mean, at this point, being able to get all the games is kind of a shell game anyway.
the only person I know of that's going to be able to see all of the games that I want to see is me because I'm going to be at them.
Sure.
And that unless not announcing my plans to God so that he can say, "Oh no, you're not."
Yeah, that's
Um, you know, he, um, but that's going to be the one. And to be honest, ultimately it may be a little cheaper. Um,
I mean,
I
that
tell
would
you,
be nice.
I tell you what it is. I'm going to get the NFL Plus though. That package,
Yes.
I want to be able to get all of. Hey, mom, or
So
oh, mom.
the exactly. So the so I had an NFL Plus last year, and it's a nice service, right? Like you can see all the games and everything, albeit not all of them in real time. But it's not like you can watch them all in real time anyway.
Right.
But the other thing, if you have a VPN and you get the NFL Game Pass, which actually isn't available in the US anymore, but if you get the overseas version, right, um, then you can watch the games in real time.
Got you.
And Game Pass is essentially the same price as NFL Plus. So there's a couple ways you can kind of manipulate it. Um, hopefully no one with the NFL is watching to try and sue me or anything, but there is a way to go about it where you'd be able to watch them in real time. But again, I mean, at the end of the day, you're only going to be able to watch one game
At
in
a
real
time.
time at a time anyway, right? Or you're going to throw it on
NFL
Red Zone.
NFL Red Zone.
Exactly. And Red Zone is part of it. So, it's included.
Yeah, I only want the NFL Plus this year because I want to be able to see the different angles that we do not get to see on television. And I also would like to. So, the hardest part about rewatching a game is finding the game, and most of the games that they have, it's either the 3 hour version that has the broadcast or it has it so that it takes out every commercial. So, it's hike the ball, end of play, hike the ball, end of play,
Yes.
hike the ball, end of play. And you miss some of the other things that are happening around, like
Yep.
around the game. So I I want to be able to watch it without a broadcast. I want to be able to see some of the coaches' views and things like that. I that's the reason why I want to be able to get that package. I want to be able to watch some of these games. Like
It's also nice to be able to rewind into a certain spot and like rewatch an alignment, especially on a key play. If you want to break down some film, NFL Plus is actually really nice for that.
and that's the other good part about that is that you could take some of these other angles and then we would be able to use them here and
Correct.
discuss that
Yep.
rather than having a broadcast where we gotta tote the line of possibly getting in trouble. And I'm
Exactly.
not getting in trouble. I mean, I just want to be able to do my stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm not trying to get copyright infringement, just, trying to review a clip and that's it.
exactly.
And I'm going to have NFL Plus again this year also because I'm really interested to see what it is they're doing with this new kickoff rule. And so there's going to be a lot of times, especially early in the season, where I'm going to want to watch alignments because there's going to be a lot of teams trying to figure out how to manipulate this thing to have big returns.
Yeah, the hardest part about it is that I do you expect a couple miracles at like
I mean,
the
there's going to
Music
be
City
returns.
miracles and stuff like that? Like, I expect some of that to like those are plays now that might be worthwhile trying. Because if you're able to do it
Yep.
right, you have two guys back, you got nine guys up on the line, which you're allowed to do.
Yep.
You catch the ball, you got everybody starting to run, and they start to run in a very specific direction, and or you have the guy who's in the middle and he circles around and comes around the back
Yep.
way and stuff like that, and throw it to him. Like you're going to have a lot of those interesting type of plays that might be
No,
worthwhile
I,
watching.
I like the idea that this is now a actual play again because, over the last 10 years, they basically eliminated the kickoff. And now it's going to be, I mean, these special teams coaches are going to have to earn their money again because now you have a actual schemable play as opposed to, yeah, they're just going to boot it out the back of the end zone. We're going to step out to the 25. No big deal.
I would like for them to change the onsides rule then, because now you have to announce it
Yeah.
that the ball's got to go 10 yards, but the receiving team has got to start 5 yards back. So, in essence, from where the kickoff is, the receiving team has got to be 15 yards back. So they only have to go
So
five
they have
yards,
to one
where
up.
the other team's
I
got
got
to go 10 yards, and that would be the way to do that. You know what I mean? I like that idea better because now you have to announce we're having an onside kick. There's no
it. Yeah.
surprise onside kick.
Yeah, no, the surprise is gone because there's also only certain times that you're allowed to kick it anyway. Now it has to be in the fourth quarter. You have to be down. Like there's some things that they're going to have to try and figure out to fix that because I mean that it's already a low percentage play and they just made it infinitely harder. The only thing that they did kind of change back to the way it used to be, 15 years ago, is now you can overload a side. So
Oh, okay.
so you can overload a side by one player, which I mean that's good. That'll help. But
One player isn't enough. I don't like
well, the
that
biggest
either.
thing is you still don't get the running start. Like that was one of the things that made you actually have a chance at an onside kick. Is the other team is waiting where the ball has to cross, and all your guys get a running start. I mean, you actually had a shot at getting this thing. And last year, nobody gets to move. It's got to be equal sides. It worked 5% of the time. That's
So
as low a percentage play as you can get.
so that's where I kind of like maybe if they moved it instead of being kicking off from the 35. I think that's where they kick off now,
Yep,
right?
it
The
is.
35. Yeah, you move it back to the 20
Okay,
and do it from there. And that's where you do your 15, the 10 and 5. You know what I mean?
sure.
Like there, because now you're giving more up because it's an announced thing now.
Sure.
It's an announcement. You have to say we're going to do an onside kick. We're going to give you an opportunity here, but now if you do get it, you got to travel further.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm game with that. Like
I'm not mad at that.
that kind of makes it because you are giving a little bit of hedge towards the kicking team now because you're setting them up 10 and 5. You know what I mean? In essence, everybody's got to run towards the ball. And ultimately, you want to talk about injuries? I'd be willing to bet that'll be an injury play. But
There's no doubt.
yeah,
Yeah. And
but
that's why you
ultimately,
don't get to have the running start anymore.
right. But everybody's starting from zero, and you have to have your fastest guys who can try to get there. I hope they got good hands, and it's got to go 10 yards. You got to be able to make sure that all of that is good. You know what I mean? And they're going to have their fastest guys that only have to go 5 yards, better have really good hands. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Trying to get on the ball as quickly as possible. But if you are the kicking team, now you're getting the ball at the 30-yard line, 35-yard line, and you still got to go 65 yards. So where if you don't get it, you lose. You know what I mean? So you're going to lose the
Yeah.
game anyways at 35-yard because now they're in field goal range in general.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, if you miss an onside kick, you've lost the game, because even as it currently sits, they're in just about everybody's field goal range at this point. I mean, you got guys that are nailing 63 yarders. I mean, you recover that ball, you make it 5 yards, you're within Tucker's range.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
but
it's
let's
it's
go ahead and do this commercial break here. See you on the other side.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on the student athletes in our region, and now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates a unique and much-needed opportunity for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for the upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get faster. When you're a national program, you receive national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from Air on those lists. Which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
So there is one other thing that I want to throw in here as we're getting close to the return of football. With camp going to start here in about a month. If you are here in the Pacific Northwest, anywhere between Portland, Oregon, and Vancouver, BC, we're going to do our sports bar series again for Thursday Night Football. So if you're watching this and you happen to know a good sports bar that would be a good fit for this, especially if you happen to know the owner, get us in contact, because we're starting to fill out our schedule for where we're going to be for each Thursday night game this season.
There you go. Make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun series, especially because Thursday Night Football is largely terrible.
Yes. And it's interesting because, the Mannings were able to start something that is now being duplicated over and over and over again. And you're going to see a lot more of things like that, where they're they're going to put two people together talking about a game as the game's going on.
Oh yeah.
And there have been a few people that tagged me in trying to be Snoop Dogg is going to announce some of the Olympics.
Yeah,
And
that's
they tagged me. They tagged me in that and saying, "Hey, you would be a great second person to Snoop."
I can see him and Marshawn.
Yeah, that's like that's what I see. I mean, obviously, you have to have a rapport with somebody to be able to do that in any bit of way. And I got to imagine those guys are friends. Hey, and by the way, Marshawn Lynch was at the NFL draft or the NHL draft.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which was kind of cool to do that. I mean, a couple other things that happened that were really cool. Obviously, the Flyers had Michael Buffer announce their first pick in the draft, which was really nobody knew about it. Nobody, like even the commissioner Gary Bettman's like, all right, so who are you going to have do the announcement? And they're like, yeah, we got Michael Buffer coming. He's like, really? You saw his face. He's like, really? That's fucking cool. Even so, I read the lips. He's like, that's fucking cool. You know what I mean? And just because it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and so he made the announcement. And obviously, he's a Philly guy, so the fact that they were able to do that was cool. The guy I happened to get the tickets from for the day one of the draft works for Fanatics and is very good friends with Danny Briere and stuff like that. And he told me, he's like, man, I heard that guy all the way from where you guys were on the floor. You know what I mean? Because I'm loud. You know what I mean? There's no, like I did a Let's Go Flyers chant. There's only, like there was maybe 30 Flyers fans in the whole group. But, I mean, when you yell in a sphere, guess what? Everybody hears you. So,
yeah.
And then people got excited about it because I was excited about it, you know. And then other people started to yell like, "Yo, let's go Kings, let's go Kraken." You know, there were a lot of San Jose people out there because they got the first pick in the draft, and you know they had like 1,000 picks in this draft.
Yeah.
But the other cool thing is that any kid that you see in a suit is likely about to get drafted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't recognize any of them, but they're all like, that's kind of cool what you just did there. You know what I mean? With your hair and your makeup and stuff like that. Like that's like, and it's I have these kids. It might be the first time they're in the U.S.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, I don't know what his name was or what pick he was, but I happened to congratulate one of the Winnipeg Jets kids who got drafted, and you know, I said, hey, congratulations. And he's like, thanks, buddy. And he had that real thick, I guess it was Swedish accent. And then his entire family, I don't understand a lick of Swedish, but I could tell they were like, is this guy for real looking like this? And you could tell that the kid goes, hey, we're in the US. This is a whole different thing here. You know what I mean? It was like I felt like that was the conversation that they had as I'm sitting there, and I'm kind of laughing about it because it was like, you could almost say, is this guy for real?
Yep.
So,
I mean, so speaking of Marshawn, this is let's see. Let me cue this thing up. I find this annoying because of how soft people are at this point.
okay.
So let's see. Here we go.
How soft are they?
They are this soft. Oh, come on. I guess we're going to get a commercial first.
Nordic
So that's
spent nearly 50 years building machines that actually understand you.
Skip ad.
Being so
Oh,
smart,
there we go.
Hey, Clyde, we're going up.
they automatically
let me skip
adjust
it.
for your workout
Not letting
and
me
for
skip
you.
it.
Get your heart rate up.
There we go.
Didn't say that. Maybe you should just let them know because they're volunteers.
Is there a man here with you? No. Okay, so truth of the matter is, oh shit. Oh shit. Yeah, I do. I cuss a lot. I cuss in front of them. So look, I cuss a lot.
Every one of them's
All right, that's okay.
He's not
So look,
no, my son's a
so
shit.
look,
It's not
so look,
okay.
the thing- is there a man here with you?
Not here.
There's not a man here with you?
But I'm here. Why? What does that matter?
Because I'm
My
gonna
son
speak
is
to a man.
leaving. I don't care. It's my son.
The thing about it is, oh shit. when this thing just spoke to me by my name, I went up to him. I told nobody get the fuck out of the drill.
Get over here
I
right
told,
now.
look.
No,
But I will tell them.
get your mom here too. They all
But I'll tell them that if they're not doing what they need to do, then yes, there's consequences to that.
Yeah.
You said nigga. You say nigga every day.
Bye.
If I told the little ones to go wrong, I'm gonna have a conversation with this little one besides in the drill. But at the end of the day, if there's a kid that's on my field while we're in drills and I participate in the right way, there is consequences for that. If it takes the measurement, if I tell them to go and run laps, come over here and record me so they can actually see.
No,
face.
they can see you fine here.
I know, come on. So if it takes that amount of time for when I tell a kid to do something and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, then there is consequences, like push-ups, like running laps, like sit-ups, like telling them to get out of my drill if they're not participating. They're doing right. Get the fuck out of my drill. Get the fuck out of my drill, or whatever it takes to get my drill. Because there's one kid, but there's also
50 others.
100 more kids out there. But at the same time, there's no disrespect or anything, but there's a million kids. But I didn't want you to get away to go and throw dope.
You know, actually, and not for nothing, he didn't have to do any of that. He could have been like, hey, you know what? This is my camp. I do things the way I do it. He actually spent the time to try to be like, listen, it's like, listen, if your kid is not doing what I need him to do, I am going to talk to him like a freaking coach. This is how they're going to be spoken to. This is the real world here. And I'm sorry that you are a Karen right here and you are trying to get this, you protect your child. But listen, then don't sign him up for the Marshawn Lynch camp.
Exactly. Well, and that was my whole point, is it's like, how soft are these people? Like you brought your kid somewhere to be coached. So let them coach, because I understand why he's like, do you have a guy with you? Because at that point you're like, have you been on the field? Like, because that is, I mean, my era of coaching is, you know, they're grabbing your face mask, they're yelling at you, like they're coaching you hard. So for him to be like, hey, you're you know, screwing off, you're not being part of this drill, get out of my drill. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And then for
get the
Marshawn,
F out of my drill.
No, exactly.
Like, listen, because I'm sure it wasn't like, oh, you're not going to do this drill, then get the F out. He's like, he tried to motivate him a couple of times.
Sure.
When he's not doing it, then at that point, then get the F out. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Got to get moving. You got to do this way. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. You're not, you get the F out of this drill.
Well, and you know, it wasn't the first offense, right? I mean, because he had already
That's
said running laps and push-ups. So, I mean, if you've already done the push-ups, you've already ran the lap, and you're still messing around and not being serious. Yeah, I mean, every coach worth their salt is kicking you out of their drill. And so for him to take the time after the fact and be like, hey, like, this is why I did it.
Then to think like and I guess that had to come across from the woman. The woman posted that because she thought that she was righteous in this.
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously that wasn't his phone recording it. That was another mom that was mad about it because their kid was crying. It's like, you know how you stop from crying? Participate in the damn drill.
Right.
You know, funny thing, if you do the things you're supposed to, you're not going to get yelled at. Now, you might get yelled at for doing it poorly, but you're not going to get kicked out of the drill.
Actually, yeah, you're not going to get yelled at for doing it poorly. You're going to get yelled at to fix it. Like, This is how we fix it. Because, listen, the one thing that people have to understand, you know, and this is one of the things that I talk about when somebody gets in trouble from the NFL. These guys are operating at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You know, like they're driving on different highways of life than we are. In general, they're highly motivated, highly instigated people. You know what I mean? So to have these types of things, you have to, when you're at these camps, you are expected to conform to that. Like there's got to be a little bit of an expectation. It should almost say it in there, hey, listen, this is Marshawn Lynch. I mean, he curses. You should know this.
Exactly.
You should know this. He's not going to be the guy that's...
Coaches in general do.
I mean,
it is very rare to have that one coach that's like, gee willikers. Like,
well, you know what? There is one person that I know of that absolutely will not curse.
there's
Will
a few
not
of them.
curse. And you know what? That guy, it costs you like just $50,000 to be in the same room with him.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just the way it works.
And for
I'm talking
everybody
about Brian
watching, that
Dawkins.
guy is
I'm
not on
talking
this
about
show.
Brian Dawkins. No, he's not on this show. You're right, because he's way too much. But it's Brian Dawkins. Like,
Yeah.
now, would I want to go to a camp with Brian Dawkins? As a 51-year-old man, I'd want to go to that camp.
Of course.
You
Of
know what I
course.
mean? Let me get my ass kicked by Brian Dawkins. I'd be okay
100%.
with that. You know what I mean? But like I said, those are few and far between, very few and far between. So everybody else is going to use different vernacular to express their displeasure sometimes.
Yeah. And the thing that's funny is it's probably not even the kid isn't. The mom certainly wasn't.
Well, and not only that, listen, when you're a young kid at 10 years old,
Sure.
and you have one of your heroes telling you you're doing stuff wrong, I can understand that there may be the frustration tears that you're
Sure.
getting. So the kid crying at 10, 11, 12 years old because they're being told they're doing something wrong and they're not processing it the right way to be able to get the product out the way he wants it.
Sure.
Can be frustrating. And that could create crying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no
Does
question.
that mean, like, if he got hit a little too hard and he's crying, that's a different story. You know what I mean? Then that guy's not maybe football material. But if he's crying because he can't quite process the drill properly,
Sure.
he's trying but can't process it, that's a frustration, and you don't know what else to do. So a natural reaction may be to cry. You know what I mean?
No, and that's why I say the crying actually isn't the problem. The mom crying is the problem in this.
Right. That's exactly it. Like, listen, you better, like, if you're told 3 or 4 times that you're not getting this, you got to do this differently. You got to do this. You're not listening to me. Then it's get the fuck out of my drill. Now I get it. I understand that. And like I said, this is his camp. He makes money off of this camp. So I got to imagine that's part of the reason why it's like, listen, I have to appease some of these people here. I didn't want to talk to reporters, but I got to talk to a Karen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you have hundreds of kids out there. Like I was one of the coaches at the Tyler Lockett one a month ago, right? We had 300 kids out there. There were 16 of us coaches and Tyler Lockett, right? So, I mean, you're herding cats the whole time.
Yes.
I mean, and that's all these camps are, is you're herding cats. It's controlled chaos. So if you got a kid that's crying or not paying attention or whatever, yeah, you have to kick him out of the drill. One of the kids,
so that he doesn't get hurt.
Well, so he doesn't get hurt, and also because it'll get the other kids off task. And the last thing you want to have is 300 kids just doing whatever they want to do out there.
Right. Then the camp's not as worthless.
Yeah, no question.
So, yeah, obviously I've never been good enough to be able to teach a camp. It's like in any athletic situation. So I've not been a part of that. However, I do know what it's like to try to herd cats, like
Yeah.
even when you are, when you have a bus full of people going to an event, you got to be able to herd them a certain way. And it's very different because the activities are different. They're going to a game. You got to make sure everybody's got their seat. You got to make sure everybody's happy as well and stuff like that. It's a whole different scenario, but same principle. It's like, hey, listen, you got to do this. Everything's on a timetable. Got to make sure everything keeps in time. So him leaving to go talk to the mother screws up the timetable for everybody else now. Now her child became more important.
So fortunately not. That is where these camps are actually kind of good, in the way that a lot of it is the other coaches that are there, right? Because Marshawn's rule is going to, objective while he's there is going to be similar to the one that I was in, where he's going to be floating around to all the drills. Like he's going to be putting in input and whatever, right? But he's not necessarily running all the drills. So that's where his other coaches come in handy. So for him to be able to pull away, the other coaches are still running the rest of the practice out there, right? So fortunately, him being able to take that time doesn't completely disrupt the flow of the day. Although I feel like it was probably unnecessary for him to have to do it. But, you know, that's I guess that's the end of the story that I find frustrating about it. It's like you're at a football a camp, right? Cursing happens. There's zero chance that this is the first time your kid has ever heard these words. Right. And they may be the first time that they've had a grown man direct it to him. But at the same time, stay on task.
Right. Right. Because ultimately, there are some kids that Marshawn will actually probably start to become closer to, will help mentor throughout more. You know what I mean? Like throughout more time. Like it's just, I got to imagine it happens. That, I mean, maybe there isn't anybody that shines through, but there's going to be usually one or two
maybe
that
not
show some promise that he will check in on.
Sure.
Like I said, it's a matter of, hey man, I'm just calling to check in on you and see how you're doing. If you're doing the stuff that I gave you this program to do outside of camp, because I think that you may have some potential here. Are you still doing that? And as long as you're still doing that program and I can see some results from that, like, hey, maybe I want you to come back next year. I want to see how much you've progressed. I want to be able to start talking to some coaches for you further down the line. Like those are the things that you want. That's what you're getting from with these camps, that he's got to touch every kid. That's the goal. He's got the coaches to coach up. He's going to say a couple of things here and there. Certain things are going to register and be like, yeah, this is what happened. And this is the story I got for that. Yeah. But ultimately, he's touching every kid. He's got to touch every kid.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the idea of the camp is they're floating around. The other coaches are making everything happen. And yeah, this is exactly the thing is it's just like, there's no way this is the first time this kid has encountered that. Yeah, I mean,
what did she say? She was a Jesuit, and because she was a Jesuit, they don't hear that type of language. It's like, really? I mean, come on. There's got to be somebody who, is the sailor of the Jesuits that talks like he says, pass the effing salt.
And the only way that wouldn't be a thing is if the kid was homeschooled and never had a TV turned on. And I mean, come on, like nobody's buying that.
So, and that's really what it comes down to. She was unhappy with the performance of her child, and she had to stick up for her child in a certain way. That's what happened there. So, I mean, think about it the opposite way, where you got kids coming out after what's his face, where they all are coming out after the kids are going and trying to attack the quarterback from Carolina.
Oh yeah.
It's like then you have those types of situations. It's like, are you kidding me? Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, these guys, I understand they make money off of this, but this is them. This is them. They are sharing their knowledge. I understand that
they're sharing their time. They're sharing their time. So, I mean, if your kid is out there not actively participating and wasting these people's time, first off, these parents wasted a lot of money to do it. And second, you're taking away from the other kids in that camp, which isn't cool.
Right. So,
and that gets us to the top of the hour. How about that?
This is a fun show.
Absolutely.
You know what? AI is always trying to figure out if there's any clips to make. And I think that AI is going to be able to take some clips out of this one today.
I think so. The problem is usually we don't get our stuff done in a minute. I think that's why AI struggles so much with getting our shorts out. But other than that, we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Take care, guys.